Coming up on today's Locked On Senators. We made it. It's finally a regular season game day for your Ottawa Senators. They'll be in Carolina, 7 o'clock to take on the Hurricanes.
And as we always do, we're going to get you set up for this game day with both lineups for both teams, a Locked On player, a lookout player, and keys to the game.
Tonight's game 1 of 82. So what are the overall expectations? We'll also get into that and more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome to episode 892 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. You can follow the show on Twitter at Sens Central, on Instagram, lockedon.senators. We are free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where the vibes are high. I have pregame jitters as we are recording this on a Senators game day. The first time since April 13th. We've made it. We've got a full game day preview. We've got new graphics alert. Oh, man, it's going to be a fantastic show. I also have to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. The Sleeper app, you can download and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Today is Wednesday, October 11th, and Pilsy, it's time to get into the eye of the storm.
I am in a great mood today, Ross. I know last episode, segment 1, we were a little bit down. We were a little bit concerned about the lineup here, but I've gotten over that. It's an Ottawa Senators game day, and I'm ready to get fired up. The season is here. I'm so stoked. Go, Sens, go.
Go, Sens, go. I just want to let that ride because it's been 181 days since the Senators stepped off of regular season NHL ice. We got the appetizer last night. It was a nice trifecta of games. We are not scoreboard watching yet, although I was cheering for the Predators.
I was going to say, we're not.
I was cheering for the Chicago Blackhawks. They got the win. And Pilsy, now it's time for the Ottawa Senators to get after it. 7 o'clock. We're only hours away. 7 hours from the time of this recording. We want to get this out as soon as possible. What are you most looking forward to tonight?
Honestly, just the full, I was going to say the full lineup, but we're not going to get that. But no more preseason lineups. This is what we got. This is the real thing. We're going to see everybody put it all on the ice here. Game 1 of 82. The Senators need to get off to a strong start. Starting the season on the road up against a team like the Carolina Hurricanes is not easy, but this team's going to have to face adversity, and they're starting off with some obstacles right off the bat. So, I mean, I don't want to say game 1 is a measuring stick game, but this is the type of game where it's like, all right, you're not set up for success here. How are you going to pull through? What are you going to do to overcome this adversity? And that's what I'm excited to do, because I think Brady Tkachuk can lead this team into battle up against the Hurricanes, and I'm fired up for what the captain's going to do opening night.
We discussed a lot yesterday about the fact the Senators were going to have to play a man short tonight because of the cap situation they're in. Now, what I'll say, with all due respect to Zach McEwen, you'd rather him be the odd man out who is only going to play 6 or 7 minutes anyways than if it was one of the big dogs and you'd have to have 20 minutes covered for. So at least there's that, Pilsy. At least the Senators will have all their stars in the lineup. Of course, maybe the asterisk being Josh Norris, but we're
and Shane Pinto.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him a star yet, but obviously you'd like to have Shane Pinto in the lineup. But the top end guys are there. That top line is still one of the best in hockey, I believe, and I think they're going to have to play their best if the Senators are going to have a chance to win this game. I'm most excited for the postcast. I got to say, Pilsy, I'm getting fired up for that. You can join us right after the game on YouTube live. We will post the audio, maybe for your commute in the morning if you have to go to bed right after the game. All good. We got you covered here on Locked On Senators, pregame, postgame, and everything in between. With that, tonight's lineup. We don't know who the Carolina Hurricanes are going to ice, Pilsy. They might not have Brendan Lemieux in the lineup after all. Rod Brindamore, pretty non-committal when discussing whether he's going 12-6, 11-7. I mean, all the cool kids are going 11-6, but I guess he's not jumping on that bandwagon.
That's what I was getting. When I saw the report that the Hurricanes might not go with the traditional lineup, I'm like, oh, they're trying to even things up here. 11-6, I like it. But no, it's going to be 12-6 or 11-7. I feel like with no Zach McEwen for the Sens, Rod Brindamore will likely sit out Brendan Lemieux and go 11-7 here, but that remains to be seen.
I don't want Brady Tkachuk to go after Brendan Lemieux. Is that a hot take?
No, it's not. I mean, it'd be entertaining, but that's not how we want to start things off. We talked about it with Walt. Brady's got to rein it in when it comes to fighting the scrubs. And if we're talking scrubs, I mean, Brendan Lemieux is a scrub. Yeah. So just focus on the task at hand here, Brady. That's. I mean, this will be if Lemieux is playing, that's going to be a test for Brady because Lemieux knows he's under Brady's skin. He knows he's in his head a little bit. So how can you move past that? How can you focus on putting that puck in the net rather than spending 5 minutes in the box?
If you're new to Locked On Senators, typically the final segment on game days, we do previews, but Pillsy, it's opening night. We got to get there. Let's get the Hurricanes out of the way. Then we'll focus on the Ottawa Senators. Keys to victory, Locked On lookout players. Here's how your Carolina Hurricanes are going to line up. Shiny new graphic if you're watching on YouTube.
Very nice.
Go. By the way, the Hurricanes have lost 4 games in a row. We got swept by the Florida Panthers. In the conference finals, yeah, sure, they got there.
Rob Brindamore doesn't think they got swept, Ross.
Well, I got bad news for him. 4 straight losses is a sweep. Here's how the Hurricanes are projected to line up tonight. Sebastian Aho at center in between Michael Bunting and Seth Jarvis. The second line is Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who went 1 pick before Brady Tkachuk in the draft, if you can believe that. In between Teuvo Teravainen and Martin Nakash. The third line is Jordan Stahl with Jordan Martinook and Jesper Fast. Don't call me Jordan, call me Jesper Fast. And the fourth line, Jack Drury in between maybe Brendan Lemieux and Sens legend, Sens draft pick, Stephen Nason. On defense, we've got Jacob Slavin with Brent Burns, Brady Shea with Brett Pesce, Dmitry Orlov, new free agent acquisition, and Tony DeAngelo reunited with the Hurricanes after leaving just to come back. In goal, Freddie Anderson will start. Pillsy, he has had some success against Ottawa in his career, although the numbers outside of the record aren't that great.
Yeah, he's been able to get the dubs while still letting in a lot of goals. I'm going to be hitting the over in this game, Ross. I like the over in this one. This is a deep lineup, even without Svechnikov. And where it's really impressive is on defense. I mean, this defense core arguably might be the best in the entire league. Like, they've got Dmitry Orlov is their highest paid defenseman, and he's on the third pair. and he's paired with Tony DeAngelo, which, love him or hate him, that guy is a stud defenseman that can put up points. So that's one hell of a third pair.
He's the equivalent of with Branny. It's like DeAngelo moved pucks. Like, he's a puck-moving defenseman.
But he's got the stats to back it up.
True.
Much more than Branny.
But you look at their top 4, like that's been their top 4 for the last number of years, and they've been so successful. Why would you change it?
And this is the team, Ross, where I feel like they have nailed it when it comes to yin and yang defensive pairs. Like Slavin and Burns, perfect shutdown guy, perfect offensive guy. Shea, Pesce, same thing. Orlov, DeAngelo, same thing. Like, they've really done a good job of balancing out that top 6 there for the Ds.
Who's your lookout player tonight for the Hurricanes?
Well, this works out perfectly. Talking about defense, if you're watching on YouTube, the man in the photo, Brent Burns, is going to be my lookout player, Ross. He is so unpredictable out there. Like, he'll pinch at any given notice. He loves getting the puck on net. He actually led the Carolina Hurricanes in shots on goal last year with 255. He's a big part of their power play success. That's going to be a guy I'm looking out for because he can cause problems for teams trying to defend against him if you're not ready for honestly anything. And he plays a physical game. So Brent Burns is going to be who I'm looking out for.
I'm going to go up front with Sebastian Aho. This team always kind of gets looked or frowned upon that they don't have a true superstar. right? They're the sum of their parts. They're not a team that can just, beat you with one star. And maybe the closest they have to it is out of the lineup tonight. So Ottawa's missing Josh Norris. Carolina's missing Andrei Svechnikov, who, funny enough, I mentioned Kotkaniemi went 1 pick before Brady. Svechnikov went 2 picks before Brady, second overall in that 2018 draft. But he's a stud. He's out of the lineup, should be returning soon, but Ottawa gets to dodge that bullet. But Sebastian Aho is my locked-on player. I was surprised to see this, Pilsy. This guy's a 4-time 30-plus goal scorer and 3-time 36-plus goal scorer. He had 36 last year. He's a guy who can play both ends of the ice too. So if I'm Ottawa, I'm going power on power. I want to see Tim Stützle's line go up against that Aho line all night long. I like Ottawa's chances, but that's the matchup I'm going to be watching is Aho against Tim Stützle, if that's what it becomes, because we know the Hurricanes get last change being at home. They might want that Jordan Staal line, more of a defensive sound line against Timmy, but Timmy would burn Jordan Staal at this stage of his career. I think the speed would be a bit of an issue maybe for Jordan Staal. So my locked-on player, Sebastian Aho, cannot wait to see how this all shakes out. The Senators haven't been able to get much success in Carolina, although in the last little while, it's been better. I mean, it couldn't really get worse. They'd lost so many in a row, but they're 2-5-3 in their last 10, but they are 2-2-1 in their last 5. So they've got that in a former house of horrors for them.
Yep, this is going to be a great matchup, and I'm with you, Ross. I'd like to see those top lines go up against each other, and then, because on the left side, Bunting and Brady, that's an interesting head-to-head as well.
I love it. Can't wait. That's the Carolina Hurricanes, how they're lining up. For more, go check out Locked On Hurricanes before tonight's game if you want to view from the other side. But coming up after the break, we're going to get deep into the Ottawa Senators lineup, Locked On player to watch, keys to victory for the Senators tonight, and then we'll take a look more at the overall expectations. I expect Shane Pinto to sign. And is there a step in the right direction for him to be back in the Ottawa Senators lineup? We'll discuss all that next. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Sleeper. Guys, the NHL season is finally here. Will the Sens have the season we've all been yearning for? I absolutely love the NHL, and I know you do too. And that's why I got to tell you about the Sleeper app. The Sleeper app is the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL network, and it should be your go-to daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash on daily fantasy. You can also play NFL, NBA, MLB, and college football on Sleeper. I love that they have group chats so you can get your chirps in there if you're feeling good about your picks. Entries can be made in under a minute. Doesn't take any time at all. The NHL has never been more exciting than it is now, with studs all around the league like Tim Stützle, Jake Sanderson, Brady Tkachuk, and Eric Brandstrom. Just pick more or less these stats like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more. You heard me, Sens fans, 100 times payout on Sleeper. So start paying attention and get your picks right, and you could win big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper terms of use for details.
Today's episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp. Have you ever thought about talking to someone when your issues are getting the better of you? Do you ever feel like your brain's getting in its own way? Like, you know what you should do, what's good for you, but you just can't do it? Therapy can help you figure out what's holding yourself back. They can work with you instead of you working against yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, you should give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And here's the thing. It matters who you're talking to, and not everybody is for everyone else. And you're able to switch therapists at any time for no additional charge if that's what you want to do once you get in to BetterHelp. So make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNHL today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNHL. All right, Pilsy. Vegas doesn't think that Ottawa has a chance tonight. If you go to FanDuel Sportsbook, our favorite sportsbook here on Locked On, the Senators money line plus 158 tonight, meaning if you bet $10 and they win, you get your $10 back and $15.80 back as well. So they're underdogs in this game. The over-under is set at 6.5 plus 106 for the over. You can go check that out and all the great props over at FanDuel. I'm going to be on anytime goal scorer, Drake Batherson, plus 320. I like that, Pilsy. I like that.
That's not bad. Ross, I might dip my toe into a parlay if you'll have me.
End of the show? End of the show? Can we get a parlay at the end of the show?
Pilsy's parlay of the day. End of the show.
Oh my goodness. Stay tuned for that. Like we even need a teaser. Look at this. The fellas. The fellas are back in the mix. Line. Tem Stützle centering Brady Tkachuk and Claude Giroux, the second unit. Ridley Gregg in between Mathieu Joseph and Drake Batherson. The third line, Rourke Chartier between Dominic Kubalik and Vladimir Tarasenko. And the fourth line is Mark Kastelik between Parker Kelly and insert no cap space here. On defense, Jacob Chychrun with Thomas Chabot, Jake Sanderson with Artem Zub, and Eric Brandstrom with Travis Hamonic. Eunice Korpisalo was in the starter's net at the morning skate.
This is what we're going with tonight. Now, I would have preferred a full roster, but we already went through that. I'm done. I got the bucket hat on. It's good vibes only, so I'm feeling very positive about this roster, Ross. We don't even need all 12 forwards here. Doesn't matter because this top 9, I think can get the job done here. Now, obviously, it would look a lot better with Josh Norris and Shane Pinto inserted here instead of Ridley Gregg and Rourke Chartier. But these wingers are so dynamic with such kind of diverse skills that I think, sure, defense, Carolina's got the edge. But the top 9, even without Norris and Pinto, I still think it can dominate the Carolina Hurricanes top 9, especially with them not having Svechnikov. So I think this is going to be closer than Vegas and maybe Carolina Hurricanes fans think it will be here.
I'm really intrigued to watch Ridley Gregg tonight because the progression was obvious in preseason, but he's my locked on player tonight. It's Ridley Gregg because he is going to get an opportunity to be on a power play unit. He's going to play it 5-on-5. I really think that we could see Ridley Gregg take a huge step. I'm not saying he's going to be in the Calder Trophy mix, but I do think that he is going to take an enormous step forward. I think the 20 games that he played last year are really going to help him just know what to expect. He's been in this environment. He's played in Carolina. It's not like it's new to him anymore. So Ridley Gregg is a player that I'm going to be very intrigued with tonight. Plus 650 if you want to get him at an anytime goal scorer. I like that. But no, I think he'll get tons of opportunity. And I mean, it's a bit of a, by association. I think Drake Batherson, we talked about in our hot takes episode the other day. If you missed that, check it out. I think Drake Batherson is going to have a ridiculous offensive season. And if Ridley Gregg can be a benefactor for that, all the better. So he's my locked on player tonight, Ridley Gregg.
Yeah, I mean, Ridley Gregg, he got a decent amount of ice time with Drake Batherson last year, and it didn't click the way we thought it would, but I'm with you, Ross. I think Drake Batherson is going to step into another level here, and Ridley Gregg has got a little more experience. He's not just being thrown into this, so I think we could see some nice work being done here.
Worth noting that Ridley Gregg ended last season with 5 points in his last 7 games.
Yep, hopefully he can carry that over. And Ross, speaking of carrying things over, my locked on player, I'm going with Dominic Kubalik on this one. We know how hot of a start he got off to last year, Ross. I'm looking at his game logs. In the first 6 games last year, he had 4 goals, 6 assists, so 10 points in his first 6 games. He was shooting at a 25% clip. The Ottawa Senators need to get off to a hot start here, and if Kubalik can recreate some of that magic and start off hot in October and November, that could be massive value for the Sens here. And look, you got Kubalik and Tarasenko. Like Kubalik, I think it's very fair to call him a 20-goal scorer. Tarasenko, a 30-goal scorer. You got those guys on your third line here. They could really make some magic. So hopefully Rourke Chartier can do a good job of setting those guys up. So Dominic Kubalik is my locked-on player for tonight's game.
That's something I'm going to be curious about because we know that when you're a goal scorer, you sometimes need other players to get you the puck in the right situation.
Yep.
Is Rourke Chartier a disher? We're going to find out sooner rather than later, Pilsy. I don't think you should make any sweeping generalizations or statements because sometimes they backfire.
Yeah, and they follow you around. So I will not. I can neither confirm nor deny if Rourke Chartier is a disher. No further comment.
Keys to victory tonight, Pillsy. How can the Senators come out of Carolina with a win?
I think Carolina is one of those teams, kind of similar to the Kraken, where they're very focused analytically, and they've designed their roster and their coaching to represent that and to kind of work with that. So 5-on-5. Carolina is a very difficult team to get any kind of offense against, especially with that decor. My key to victory is let's get the power play going here. We looked at the power play lines was that yesterday's episode, Ross? In yesterday's episode. And again, no Norris, no Pinto, but those lines still have a lot of offensive firepower on them. So my keys to victory for the Ottawa Senators is make hay when the sun's shining. Get those goals when you're on the power play, because I think that's going to be a big part of them being able to score on this Carolina Hurricanes team.
Something I pointed out last season when the Ottawa Senators were taking on Carolina is that they stick check like nobody else. Time and space is of the essence when you're playing against the Hurricanes. It's improbable to deke through them as a group because they defend so well together. So if you're the Senators, on the road, I know fans do not want to hear this at all. There's going to have to be some chip and chase. I really think that that's how you have to get, especially the Sens have some heavy forwards. I expect Batherson to play heavy this year. I expect, obviously, Tkachuk, but I need, like, Rourke Chartier. I need him going in on the forecheck. Castlick and Kelly, when they get out there, and look, it's one game. The double shifting might actually be a good thing tonight. Get Giroux out there for a shift. Get Batherson. Like, the three right wingers they have in are all top 6 talents. Yep. So for them to be able to cycle through and get guys extra shifts, that could be a benefactor. But they need to hit hard on the forecheck. They need to wear down this very, very effective defensive core that moves the puck well, make life miserable on them getting the puck out of their own zone, and offensively move the puck quick. Because you really can't. They slash down on sticks, so maybe you can draw a couple penalties like that, but they are an elite defensive team. And you need to be up to that challenge. And that's going to be the biggest test tonight for the Ottawa Senators in my estimation. And if they get out to a lead, you can't take it for granted. You need to keep the pedal down. I'm going to be happy if they come out of this game with a point. I'm kind of going in saying, look, it's the Hurricanes home opener. They're a great home team overall. They have
12 forwards.
They're probably a little bitter from the way they lost to Florida. They lost in 4 overtimes, then another overtime, then they lost by like 1 goal again. Like, that was a tough way for them to be eliminated last season. They're bringing back a lot of the same players. They're going to be hungry. If you're the Senators, match that. They have to be able to match it. And if not, take it to them. Be physical. I think that's the biggest thing. The Senators are always a hard team. They're physical. Now they've added a touch of skill. Don't let that mean you're not a physical team. And I think with Brady Tkachuk at the helm, it's not going to be much of a worry. So I'm fired up for this one. Pillsy, at the other side of the break, I want to pull up for the people because you see the lineups right now on YouTube. We already went through it for the audio listeners. I still have the Sens lineup from game 82 last year.
Ugh.
Let's compare what Ottawa brought to Buffalo for Craig Anderson's send-off game to what they're going to ice tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. That'll be fun. Then we'll talk overall expectations for the Ottawa Senators. And Shane Pinto. Yeah, he's not signed, but where is he? Let's discuss that next. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Jace Medical. Guys, the Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. All it takes to get a Jace case is fill out a simple online form, and in some cases, you can hop on a quick call with one of the board-certified physicians. Get ongoing care from their physicians on any treatment-related questions. It's doctor-created, doctor-recommended. Don't get caught unprepared, guys. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jace Medical offers the Jace case. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you peace of mind so that you're not just hoping you have access to medication in an emergency, you'll have it on hand. Jace Medical is simple. They'll handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared, guys. Save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jace Medical. Plus, for our listeners, an additional $20 off by using code locked on at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com, promo code locked on.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our very good friends at the Glebe Central Pub. You can find the Glebe Central Pub in the heart of the Glebe, 779 Bank Street. When you head there, let them know that Locked On Senators sent you, whether you're going for a pint, a meal, whether you're going for good vibes, live music, anything. I'll tell you, we'll be there Sunday because we're taking the shuttle to the game against Tampa. $17 gets you round trip to and from the CTC. The bus leaves 1 hour and 15 minutes before puck drop. So no worries about missing anything. They'll get you there in time to get a couple Molsons into you, get some food, unless you already got it at the Glebe Central Pub. But what you can also get at the Glebe Central Pub is a round trip to and from Senators games. Go on their website, glebecentralpub.com, and you'll find the Sens bus tab. All the games are available. You can buy your tickets online. It's very simple, very easy, and you don't have to worry about ride shares. You don't have to worry about traffic. Getting out of that parking lot is the worst. Don't worry about that. Worry about having a good time. And our friends at the Glebe Central Pub are making sure of that with the Send Shuttle Bus into season 2. And we'll be on Sunday against Tampa. So get your tickets now. Get your tickets now. GlebeCentralPub.com. All right, Pillsy, game day, Ottawa Senators. We are just hours away, but we're going to wrap up today's show talking more about overall realistic expectations for the Ottawa Senators as they enter into an 82-game stretch that we will hold your hand and carry through from game 1 to 82, practice days, off days. We aren't going anywhere. We got great guests lined up. We've got great vibes lined up. And Pillsy, I shouldn't say great vibes because if they have a bad November, it is going to be a childish, whining, awful show in November.
But it's October, so we're not worrying about November right now, Ross. It's October. This is game 1. I'm in the best mood. It's Senators hockey is back, so I'm feeling so great, and I can't wait for that puck drop.
I'm on vacation, man. We got the POSTCAST, and I'm flying to the nation's capital tomorrow. Home, sweet home. I'm coming. I cannot wait to get to Ottawa. We got the back-to-back games. That was nice scheduling. Getting 2 games in 2, I was going to say 2 nights. Get the matinee on Saturday against Philly. The vibes are going to be high. Friday show, I will be recording from Ottawa. Pillsy will fly in or drive in, and then Monday we'll get you one of my favorite types of shows, Pillsy's, where we're rubbing elbows on the couch and just chatting, having a good time. So that's all coming up soon. Pillsy, we got to get into this though quickly because I pulled it up when I was going to do the lineups today.
Oh, no.
The lines from the game in Buffalo don't even make sense to me. This was pre-Buffalo game. The top line's the same. The second line, you could argue, at least for tonight, maybe took a bit of a step back. But beyond that, my goodness. Look at the decor. Look at the different, and look at the injured list, too.
Yeah, the injured list is absolutely wild there. Yeah, that feels like forever ago, Ross.
It was 181 days ago.
I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those players have moved on to different teams, and then a bunch of them are in the AHL right now. 3 of them, 4 of them even.
For those who are just listening, it's Stützle, Kachuk, Giroux, Pinto, DeBrincat, Batherson, Kastelik, Joseph, and Patrick Brown, one of the most forgettable Senators of all time. And then Dylan Gambrell with Igor and Julian Gauthier. The decor, Sanderson, Zoop, that's a pair tonight. Brandstrom, Holden, and Clevin and Gannett was the third pair. Matt Sogard started in goal. Okay, enough of that. It's time for the 2023-24 season, Pillsy. A little bit different. Overall expectations for you. Now, I want to give this to you in layers.
Okay.
What will you be happy with? What would you be okay with? And at what point are you like, hey, there needs to be changes?
I will be happy with this team finishing in the top 3 in the division. Probably in my mind, if they're going to do that, it's going to be in the 3rd spot. I'll be okay with, and my expectation is they'll get a wild card spot. And if this team makes the playoffs this year, it's playoffs or bust. No excuses. I mean, there's going to be some major changes. And I think those major changes, if this team makes the playoffs, are going to come at the price of the GM and head coaching job.
If they don't make the playoffs, I think that was just a little slip up.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. Yes.
Yeah, even if they make the playoffs, I don't know if they're safe.
Yeah, fair. But if they don't, I think that's it.
My reasonable expectation is that they're still in it after November. Like, is that too much to ask? I mean, they haven't been for 4 years straight. I just want them to, they have such, like, there's no easy game in the NHL, but compared to other teams, they have a very reasonable schedule to start the year.
And that's the thing, Ross. That's why it emphasizes even more why they have to get off to a hot start, because they've got a nice set of home games to start. So, math guy, if they got a lot of home games to start, they're going to have a lot of away games later on in the season, and that's going to be tougher to make things go. We saw what happened to them when they had that road trip out west starting with Chicago. That derailed everything. So, those can come back to bite you in the end. So you have to make sure while you're playing well at home, or while you're at home, you got to be playing well, especially for the good people of the nation's capital. Get them some W's. Let's go.
I would be ecstatic with playoffs. I'm not even going to get into where they finish. If they make playoffs, I'm happy. I don't care.
That's the thing. I don't care. Yeah. Honestly, Ross, I feel like I kind of would rather them just scrape in, because who cares where they finish in the regular season? If they make the playoffs, and then they've got that hungry mentality, they've got that underdog mentality. We saw how that worked for the Florida Panthers. I think a similar kind of mindset and a similar way getting into the playoffs could be good for the Ottawa Senators.
I want the Leafs in the first round. You talk about making me happy. Get me Sens Leafs in the first round.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
Our comments would be a complete battlefield.
Whew.
I'm
the
ready.
Battle of Ontario. Wow.
I said earlier, I unblocked every single person, every Habs fan, every Leafs fan. I want the smoke this year on Twitter at Sens Central. I need it. The ratios are flying, by the way. We're having a good time at Sens Central. Make sure you're following the show there on Instagram, lockedon.senators. Okay. Shane Pinto.
Yep.
Unconfirmed reports from multiple sources. Shane Pinto got to town on Sunday. Brent Wallace said Sunday. So Wally's of the mind, because there's a video that came out, but people were like, it's like a 4-second video of him skating at the Sensplex. And the guy said it was like 2 days ago. It's like, why are you holding on to that? You got to let us know pretty quick when that happens. But hey, if Brent Wallace is going to go out and say it, I believe that he's in town. So if that's the case, then Shane Pinto is here. We know the Senators have precedent of signing players on opening day with Brady Tkachuk, the most recent example in 2021. Now, he wasn't in the lineup opening day, but even the vibes, if Shane Pinto does agree to a deal, but now they have to make a move corresponding to that. And Pilsy, it's not going to happen today. Now that I talked myself into it.
No, it's not.
How could it happen today? What, Ottawa's going to play with 10 forwards tonight?
No, it's not happening today. But Darren Dreger also reporting that they're working on something. Sweet, thanks. Love to hear that. But I do kind of believe, like, it's got to be at a point where, how long can you talk and negotiate for? I believe they have a understanding of what a deal could look like. It's just a matter of making the room and then hashing out the final details. I really do believe that, and I think that the Shane Pinto contract dispute is not going to last into November. Let me put it at that. It's not going to go into November. Now, I mean, we're sitting here October 11th. That's still quite a bit of time, but I think he's going to be ready to go. It's just a matter of what's the move going to be to make the space.
We could do a whole show on that. I don't need to get into that on a game day, Pilsy.
No, me neither.
I think we got to get this out to the people is what I think. You got any final thoughts on today's show? We got to save a bit of voice too, because we got the postcast after the game. Our boy Marshall will be with us, and I just can't wait to vibe out after this. I'm going to say my optimistic prediction is a 3-1 win where Korpisalo has 38, 39 saves. But I'm also thinking a 3-2 overtime or a shootout loss would be good news for Ottawa.
Yeah, I mean, just getting a point, I think, would be good here. My final thoughts, Ross, we teased it. Pilsy's parlay of the day. Now, I'm on FanDuel right now, the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network, number one sportsbook in North America. And I'm going with the Sens reverse puck line, so +1.5. So I'm with you. I hope this game will go to shootout or overtime. Parlay that with the over at 6.5. You're going to get +239 there. Let's just start off small with game one. I want to save the big bets for the home opener. $5. That'll win you $11.95. So that is Pillsy's parlay of the day. Sens reverse puck line parlayed with the over.
I'm gonna go all in on that, Pillsy. All $5 I have left in my account.
Let's go. Here we go.
No, that's after I've been all over the Sens money line tonight. I'm just having fun. I'm just saying they win, I win. Let's go. Let's have a night. Let's have some fun and have a great. Like my final thoughts is everyone like I love overreacting. I'm gonna do it as well, but I think that we should draw the line at the Sweden trip. I don't think any sweeping decisions or any like locked in thoughts should happen until that 16 game sample size before or after Sweden. That's to me the first segment of the season. Let's take all the information that we get in those first 16 games and then make sweeping generalizations about the entire year. But I don't want to see if they lose 4-0 tonight, let's say. I don't want it to be full panic mode. You can have panic about Josh Norris, certain situations, Shane Pinto not being signed, but as a team, let's give this crew 16 games to work with and make adjustments. And then that's where I'm going to start being pretty harsh as a critic of this team. We'll be in November. Until then, I'm waving the pom-poms, Pillsy. I think that this team, they've got the top-end talent. They've got a true superstar. They've got a moose up front and Brady Tkachuk. Yep. And the back end is the bread and butter of this team. Like the Carolina Hurricanes are one of only a couple teams in the league whose decor I would take over the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
It's a tough first game. And I think it makes up for the fact that if you look at the Senators, and we have 2 days between games, we'll look at the upcoming 5-game segment because the Senators come home for a 5-game home stand after this. We'll look ahead afterwards tonight. Let's get through game one, and then we'll look ahead. But after they get through this game, Pillsy, the next handful of games are all winnable. So that's what we're going to turn our focus to after this game. But tonight, let's have some fun. We'll see you in the postcast. We're going to go 10 minutes after the final horn. So you get a drink, have a pee, whatever you need to do to get all dialed in for the postcast. The Sens theme is ready to go. We are going to be absolutely humming tonight for this Ottawa Senators opening game of 2023-24. Pillsy, can you believe it? It's been 5 seasons of Locked On Senators.
Yeah, it's wild, honestly. And
it's been 5. This is season 5, I should say.
This is season 5. And I want to see some playoffs this year. So I know I already had a final thought, Ross, but I'm going to go with one more final thought here for the people. Go Sens, go. How about that? Go Sens, go.
DJ Smith, we making playoffs?
Yes. Ha ha ha. Yes.
Let's ride it out. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.